Hello. It looks like I'm in the dark because I kind of am, because it's dark and cloudy out at 10:13 a.m. But it's supposed to clear up and get sunny later. So I'm gonna go do something that I hope will be a nice, relaxing time and a good mental reset. Also, there's been construction going on in my building for like a month now in one of the apartments right next to mine. So it's just been like constant construction noise. Buzzsaws banging, the whole building shaking, dudes yelling. They start around like 9 and they usually leave between like 3 and 4. So that's my other plan, is that I just want to go and stay out until like 3 and then come home to a quiet apartment. So, I'm on my way to Longwood Gardens, which is a former DuPont family estate. There's a handful of those around here, and I've been to a different one previously in a vlog. But Longwood really only functioned as a DuPont home for a pretty short period of time before becoming a public garden. And it's been a public garden since, I think, 1931. It's huge. It's like over 1,100 acres. So it would be pretty hard to rush through everything there is to see there in one visit. So today I think I'm just going to focus on like the main garden and conservatories and maybe the areas right around them. I don't think I'm going to do any like walking through wooded areas and stuff. It was $35 for my one standard adult ticket. And I actually printed out my ticket already at home because I don't want to be messing with my phone when I get there trying to find the ticket stub while also filming on my phone and everything. The rain has pretty much slowed down to just a drizzle now, so I feel like it's probably going to be done by the time I'm ready to walk around there, but if not, there's plenty of indoor stuff to go see first. In the 1700s, the land that is now Longwood Gardens was a 402-acre Quaker farm that was owned by the Pierce family for several generations. In 1798, an arboretum was planted here, but by the 1800s, the arboretum had fallen into a state of neglect, and the land was set to be sold to a lumber mill that would have leveled a large portion of the property. To prevent this from happening, Pierre DuPont purchased the land and created the first garden here, the Flower Garden Walk, which we'll pass by later. Thus began the transformation of the Pierce farm into Longwood Gardens. Construction on the 5-acre main fountain garden was completed in the 1930s. In the 2010s, it underwent a major renovation, which, according to Longwood's website, included, quote, adding 1,400 feet of new tunnels to provide access to all utilities, plumbing, and wiring, 30 geothermal wells to provide pump house temperature and humidity control, and 68 display and filtration pumps in 4 pump rooms, while the historic pump house with its 1930s equipment was transformed into a permanent museum exhibit, end quote. I spent a while here, just enjoying the atmosphere. Between the rain and the fountains, I felt totally immersed in sound in a good, therapeutic way. The historic pump house is now a museum that displays the pumps that powered the main fountain garden from 1931 to 2014. By the time I left the pump house, the rain had stopped. The Chimes Tower was built between 1929 and 1930. It's 61 feet tall, and it's based on a structure DuPont had seen in France. I had no idea what this tower was when I started walking toward it, and when it started chiming the hour, I thought that was all it was going to do. But moments later, I found myself once again immersed in sound, and I was loving it. After leaving the tower, I was planning to head to the conservatories, but I saw a sign that said Eye of Water, and I figured, well, I'm already almost there anyway. In hindsight, this was the beginning of me using this logic to justify walking to almost every site on the property after saying I would stick to one area. I sat down for a minute to get my bearings, and then I set out back toward the conservatories. After getting this aerial view of the main fountain garden, I turned and headed into the main conservatory. The conservatories were a little busy inside, which made it harder to get many wide shots. There appeared to be multiple different class trips happening, which is always kind of a risk when going to this type of place on a weekday. There were rooms and exhibits here that I completely missed, but it was crowded and hectic, kids were screaming, the air was thick with all the floral fragrance, and I could only take so much of this area. Here I walked through a desert room. Finally, I made it to the West Conservatory, which opened in 2024. This was my favorite one. After that, I wandered through the bonsai courtyard. Then I walked through the Cascade Garden. I made a quick detour through the topiary garden in the main fountain district since I hadn't gone into it earlier. Then I headed toward the DuPont house by way of the cafe and beer garden. I passed this tree house and then found myself within sight of the main house. The Pierce DuPont house is the oldest building on the property. Pierre DuPont lived here part-time from 1906 to 1954. During his lifetime, he made multiple additions to the original farmhouse, including the conservatory that connects the two wings of the house.
Became a home when, in 1950, Pierre married Alice B. Alice shared Pierre's love of horticulture and travel. She became Pierre's confidant and a grand lady.
Part of the house has been converted into offices, and another portion is now the heritage exhibit. I walked through the exhibit and checked out the displays. When I exited the house, I decided that since I was already halfway to the Italian water garden, I might as well keep going. My feet were hurting by this point, but I remembered reading on the Longwood website that the Italian water garden fountain show was currently running, and I was on track to make it there a little before the next scheduled showtime. So I made my way to the water garden to end my day with the fountain show. Unfortunately, when I got there, I saw this sign. But it didn't even matter because this place was so gorgeous and relaxing that it was worth the trek either way. As I headed toward the exit, I found myself passing through the house and theater district. I saw part of the flower garden walk, DuPont's first garden here that I mentioned earlier. And then I passed the open-air theater. I stupidly wondered why people were sitting down there like something was about to happen, and I started to walk away. But then music started playing and I realized that something was indeed happening. So I did catch a fountain show before I left, after all. I exited the gardens, stopped in the gift shop, which had a whole room of just plants, and walked the final stretch back to my car at the far end of the parking lot. Then I cracked open the tea I'd just bought and hit the road. Finished this. The sun is out, my building is quiet, and I've got a mini haul. Couple of postcards as usual. This is kind of weird to buy as a souvenir, but I got this candle. It's vegetable wax and it's locally made, and I just thought it smelled so good. Cucumber and wild mint, but I don't know, it doesn't really smell like either of those things, but no, there's some cucumber. Yeah, I smell the cucumber and mint now. It just smells like really fresh, kind of like soapy. So yeah, I got that. And of course I got a magnet with my favorite thing on it. I'm exhausted. I was pretty much walking the whole time I was there, which was like, got there a little after 11 and left around 3. All right, I gotta make myself something to eat.